A typical raid generally looks like this for me. The strategy used here is focused on the break mechanic, where after the enemy's break gauge goes to 0, it will go into a state for the rest of the turn, where every attack you do will be a critical hit. Pair this with building a large combo and cashing out the damage bonus with the right Memoria stone, you will certainly get a much higher contribution than leaving the battles on auto, meaning more rewards. 9 times out of 10, I MVP the raids that I join, and I'd like to share with you how you can too. First, let me mention that all footage shown is from version 1.04, which is September 2020. Future updates may differ and have more optimal strategies. There are 3 components to this: team composition, selecting a raid, and the battle itself. With team composition, you will need to tailor your party to the raid boss you are battling against. And I don't just mean throwing a handful of characters that are all of the recommended element. First, decide whether you are doing a permanent raid or an event raid, as well as the element. Permanent raid bosses trigger on turn 3 and event bosses trigger on turn 4. Please keep this in mind when creating your team, as you will need to change your composition accordingly. Here are the key things that you need to have. Memoria stone with the Torment skill to increase crit damage. In particular, the Summer Patty event stone works really well. So if you have multiple, definitely merge them together so you can maximize the stat bonus. If you don't have a Patty stone, there are many alternatives which you can find on the Crestoria wiki. You'll also need a character to deal the final maximum damage to equip this Memoria stone. This character should have an element advantage and be an SSR for their mystic art. Last, you also need characters to increase your combo. The key thing for these characters are that they increase the combo counter as much as possible on the break turn, rather than focusing on damage. I urge looking to try characters that are off element that can help build combos. Here you can see what characters to use based on their overlimit gauge. Remember, turn 3 is for permanent raids and turn 4 is for event raids. Characters not featured either have an overlimit gauge higher than 250 or got released after the recording of the video. As you can increase your overlimit gauge gain through a number of ways, this graphic should just be used as a reference and not as a hard rule. To see all characters, I highly recommend checking the Crestoria wiki. Other things to consider to further optimize include maxing out the characters and the Memoria stones as much as possible, use sub-members that can increase the attack, for example the easily obtainable SR Canita, building a sub-grid to maximize your attack, choosing characters who can debuff through defense down and debilitate, use multiple characters with increased crit damage Memoria stones, and awaken characters. As an example, here is a breakdown of my event raid team taking all of this into account. The Patty Memoria Stone and Richter for increased crit damage, Reed for the final hit to deal maximum damage, combo characters, Lloyd with the Genius Memoria, Leon and a support character. Other optimizations for damage is to have Kanata as a sub-member for increased attack, as well as a Judas grid. Now we're all set up, let's move on to the next step, which is selecting a raid. You can choose between opening your own raid or aiding. This guide will work with either, so pick whichever suits your need. When aiding, try to find those who have the following: a raid boss that has full or close to full health, and ideally only one person in the raid. When you see a raid that fits the bill, you need to act quick, otherwise there won't be much health to work with to get your contribution. After choosing your raid, optionally choose your support character and jump into the battle with your team. For battles, the aim is to maximize damage on the turn that the opponent breaks. The first time this happens for permanent raids is turn 3, and for event raids is turn 4. These numbers may change, especially for event raids, so make sure to double check. Ideally, you would want to manually play, but permanent raids work somewhat well on auto if you have everyone to set their Mystic Art to trigger on turn 3. Here is an example of a very hard event raid using the team shown before. For the first 3 turns, I am using the normal tack to get to the break turn as soon as possible, which for this raid is turn 4. Once the break gauge appears, wait for it to break. In this case, it breaks immediately due to the other players also hitting the boss. I then start the combo, starting with the characters without the Torment Memoria stones, followed by the characters that do, ending with Reed dishing out a ton of damage. On turn 5, I choose to turn on auto as I usually have a good chance to keep my contribution score placement. Even if you don't MVP, your contribution score will be a lot higher compared to leaving it on auto from the beginning, so you'll be earning more rewards. For the rest of the video, I'll be showing a handful of battles going through various raids. I hope that this helps you understand raids a little better to get a higher score overall. Let me know in the comments if this is useful, especially as this is the first time I'm creating content for Tales of Crestoria, so I'd love to know your feedback. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. Until then, have fun grinding in Tales of Crestoria.
なかに面倒だったけど、これで最後よ。
止まってられない。落ち着け。うろたえるな。来るぞ、気をつけろ。